Today I'm going to generate a document in Nintex Workflow Cloud using a static sheet from Google Sheets. In this example, I'm going to append data for incident date, incident summary, severity, and impact, as well as appending a name in there as well. To start off on my workflow, I'm going to go to my Nintex Workflow Cloud canvas. I'm going to select Design Form for the Start Event option, and then I'm going to add the fields that are required, the fields that we had on that sheet. Now that my form is configured, I'm going to hit Apply Changes, and we'll have those values that will be available. One thing to note is that the repeating section will be in a collection, so we'll need to leverage a for each loop to pull each of those values out of there. So I'm going to add a for each, a loop for each right here. I'm going to select the target collection, which is going to be from our start event and our repeating section 1. And then now that I have my repeating section, I want to pull that data and I want to push that into the sheet. So I'm going to use my append cell data. Dropping that action into the sheet, I'm going to be able to select a connection. If you don't have a connection configured already, you'll be able to add a new connection in there. I'm going to then select New Spreadsheet. I'm going to select the sheet. So this is going to be on the sheet itself, which sheet we're going to be appending to. Next, we're going to configure the cell data. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to click this Add Row button, and we're going to click Add Cell. From there, we'll be able to input from our loop for each action the current item, and then we'll be able to put the various information that we have in that repeating section. So first cell was going to be date of incident, next cell was going to be summary, cell after that severity, lastly impact. Once completed on the append cell data configuration, we can output the response there, where we'll get some baseline information. We don't need to do that in this example though, as we're just going to be simply appending the data, then generating the document. From there, we will then use that export extension that is built out and available in the gallery. Configuring this, again, we just simply select our connection. Again, if you don't have a connection, you'll be prompted when you click the new connection. Additionally on this, we're going to select our source file type, which is going to be a Google Sheet. Select our output file type, which we're going to select this OpenXML formats. This is going to be the XLSX version right here. And then lastly, we'll select our file, which will be a new spreadsheet. So as is, this workflow will run. This will export this as a value, and we will want to have a variable here as well, which will be the file. We can just do exported file. Here, we can create and insert that. So as it runs right now, this would export the file. But what we do want to do is we want to do a document generation. Potentially, if we had another document that we wanted to merge with this, or if we wanted to add additional details, we're going to use this generate document action because we want this to get out into a flattened PDF, and we want to use the document tagger as well. So going into the generate document action, we'll open our Nintex document tagger, and then you'll see over here where we have our Excel options. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on Excel, and then I'm going to click on Start Event Variables. So as you can see here, we have our Start Event variable, where I'll be able to actually copy that tag. So what's nice with Google Sheets is that on here, for the specific pieces that we want to actually tag data into, all we have to do is we click on the cell that we'd like, we go to Data, and then we click Named Ranges. And then from there, I'm going to click on Add Named Range, and then simply just paste in that tag here. What's nice is when we export this to an XLSX, this will use the named ranges in a similar way to how DocGen expects to use these. So what you'll see is up here on the top, this name box will now be updated with that named range that we've provided. So going back into our workflow, we have our generate document action. We're not going to need to configure a connector because we're actually going to be using that file variable that we just created. So it's going to be that exported file. Next, we'll go in here and we'll give it a name. So we're just going to give the output here. I'm going to go to Start Event, Form Variables, and Name. And then from there, I'm going to store all the files into a collection as well. So we see this file generated, and I already have that variable created. will store all those files. So the last thing we want to do is we want to send this, and we want to send this as an email. So I'm going to do send an email, click over here, and then just put in some baseline information. And lastly, and most importantly, I'm going to put the files that were generated into that extension, so we're good to use that going forward. So now, simply, we just need to publish and then run the workflow. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open the form, fill in some baseline information, and then we can see how that's actually going to execute. And now I'm going to hit the submit button, and this will execute the workflow. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up my email, and we can see here we have our email that came in. We have our March incident summary using that name that I typed. When we open this up, we'll see we have the information that was provided. Our incident date with our data that was appended as would be expected, along with that information that was tagged into that cell.